bookshop. It's the bookshop. It's the bookshop of Beverly Farms.
Howdy, everybody. It is Sam Feifel, your host of John Updike's Ghost, your favorite little podcast about reading, writing, literature, books, bookstores, and all things awesome. I'm here today for the very last time on John Updike's Ghost with my sister, the co-owner of the bookshop of Beverly Farms, and all-around awesome person, Hannah Harlow. How are you doing, Hannah?
I mean, episode 100, I think this is a big deal. I'm really proud of us.
100. Woo! Well, it's like 4 years worth of podcasts. It's crazy.
Crazy. So, I'm really impressed with us. I think we're doing a great job. And, John Updike's Ghost might be coming to an end, but it's not the end of our podcasting days.
No. Loyal podcast followers will see that we have a new podcast very soon. We're getting the logo together. We are getting some marketing assets together. We have created spreadsheets. It is going to be amazing, but we are not going to reveal the name of our new podcast quite yet, because even though it's awesome, we need to tease that out. So maybe we'll have some sort of countdown clock on our website or some other fancy mechanism for creating false desire on your part. But for the time being, Hannah, I think we should just tell people what we have on our agenda for episode 100, which is not really in any way special.
Great. That would be too much pressure. So we're just going to do our normal thing. I've got 3 books.
Wow.
And they are all good ones, and they're all very different, which I like. I mean, they're all fiction, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got The Frozen People by Elly Griffiths.
Okay.
I've got Help Wanted by Adele Waldman.
Uh-huh.
And I've got Sisters in the Wind by Angeline Boulley.
Wow. You have lots of girl books.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of boy books, actually really just 2 of them. But I'm going to talk a lot about boy books. I have Peter Heller's The Guide, which I read in 24 hours up at camp this week.
Yes.
And then I have Jess Walter's So Far Gone, which I stole from our mother because she read it and said that I would like it, and she was correct.
Oh, I'm interested. Okay. Because I started that and then I put it aside, not because I didn't like it. I just got distracted. So I'm excited to hear what you...
Well, let's start with the Angeline Boulley, because I didn't even know she had a new book. And so I'm very excited to hear about this.
Yes. So it published today of our recording, which is September 2nd. And if you're not familiar with Angeline Boulley, she is a YA author who wrote The Firekeeper's Daughter and Warrior Girl Unearthed, which
also awesome.
Were both awesome. And I was I don't know, I went into it being a little worried, like, how can she just keep writing awesome books? And this book is so good.
Is it the same universe?
Same universe.
Okay.
New character of Lucy Smith is the main character, who, we hadn't met before, but she is a young woman. She's just come out of the foster system. So when we meet her, she's like 19 and working in a diner.
Uh-huh.
And that diner blows up.
Whoa.
So explosive kind of opening. There's a pipe bomb. No one gets killed, but she and one of her fellow waitresses and the cook are inside or nearby, and they get injured.
Yeah.
And she has like a serious femur break.
Yeah.
So she ends up in the hospital, and who should appear but our old pal Donis from The Firekeeper's Daughter.
Really?
Yes. And Jamie, also from The Firekeeper's Daughter. So you don't have to have read that book, right? So we have these 2 characters that were in that book, and they are kind of the major supporting characters in this book. You will hear, you get a quick recap of their story at some point, and you're totally fine. But so it turns out that Lucy is the half sister of Donis's best friend, Lily. Who we knew Lily in The Firekeeper's Daughter.
Right.
And Jamie so Donis and Jamie are now like in their 20s or whatever, and, working people. And Jamie has this organization that tracks down kind of like native foster kids, and
Right.
tries to
So I'm
reunite
guessing
them.
that she has some connection to the tribe that she doesn't know about that will
Yes.
come to be revealed.
So she didn't even really know she was native.
Right.
So Jamie shows up and is like, this is who your people are. This is you're part of this tribe, blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of help her heal. But she has this whole crazy past. She's got like lots of secrets, and she has secrets, and you get these flashbacks. So you get kind of, her dad, then her dad dies. Then you get a flashback to how she entered the foster care system. You get her 3 different foster homes.
Which are all super sketch.
Which are all super sketch. Actually, the first one was like not so bad.
Right.
Which was nice. She did have like actually a good experience in the first one.
Okay.
Second one was super sketch.
Yeah.
And then the third one appears to be okay, and then turns into like the absolute sketchiest.
Oh, great.
But I think, Boulley is so good at writing these awesome, like strong, intelligent, like athletic, nature loving, like just great female characters.
Yes.
Putting them in these like extraordinary situations and just showing like what fighters they are, and like, you just like really fall in love with the characters and like are rooting for them.
Yeah, that's one of the things that she does best, is that she's great at creating these bad guys that are excellent foils for her heroes, and you're just rooting for the heroes so hard because the bad guys are such dicks.
Yeah. So actually what I thought she did really well was sort of disguising these absolute bad guys, right? Like they actually, some of them, and there are a lot in here, and there does end up being a pretty high body count. But like everything seems kind of okay. And then like stuff goes south real quick, and you're just like, wow, this is super shady. Yeah. So especially at the last foster house, you're just like, something is wrong here and you can't put your finger on it. Because everything kind of seems okay. And like people are super nice, and like they have enough to eat, and like whatever. But like Lucy just knows there's something wrong and she can't figure it out. And then she finally does. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff so I learned a lot about ICWA, which is the Indian Child Welfare Act.
Yeah. That was my question, is which piece of Native American federal policy is explored deeply in this novel?
Yeah, so this was an act that was established in 1978, and it is to protect Native children. So when in like adoption cases, so it's supposed to, pair them. Like if you can't be with your biological families, the next best thing would be with a tribal family.
Right.
But there are obviously a lot of shady characters operating, being like, well, that's kind of a pain in the neck. And so you see how Lucy's like social worker totally failed her.
Right.
And she was like,
sure it's not better to ship them off to boarding schools where you try to erase all memory of their history and nativeness entirely? Are you sure that's not the best way to go?
Yeah. So I will say there's a section of the book where, she starts like helping Jamie with his work, and he has her reading like all these, court documents and blah, blah, blah. So you get like, it gets a little, I think for the most part, she's really good at integrating the teachings into the action of the story.
Yeah.
But there was that one little section where I was kind of like, no, we got it. Like
it can get a little didactic. I know. But I think you
totally worth
make
it.
Allowances for that, because the rest of the story is so propulsive, and you can give
absolutely. Yeah. So it is super good.
All right. Well, I guess my transition is probably to nature writing, right? So, in the way that the native people in Angeline Boulley's novels are appreciative of nature and its power. So too is Peter Heller. I think he's, one of the best nature writers going today. And so I think you read the guide, I don't know, 50 episodes ago or so.
About a year ago. Yep. Last summer, I think.
Exactly. Or maybe it was 25 episodes ago. I read The River, I don't know, 13 episodes ago or something. And so now I read the guide because I got your copy because I was at camp and I was looking for a book to read. Because my two options were a book about how shitty Winston Churchill was and some really pieces of obscure sci-fi that you got me for my birthday that I wasn't ready for yet. And so I was like, I need a book that I know I'm going to crush.
Yes.
And there was the guide, which indeed I did crush. I read it in less than 24 hours, I think. And all the good things about Peter Heller that we said previously are still true. What I think is most interesting, so the river, I didn't really think of as like a thriller necessarily, even though it was like super action packed. Like, oh my God, there's a big forest fire and this guy's shooting at us, and we don't know what's going on, and we got to escape. But I still sort of didn't really think of it as overly plot driven for some reason, right? I still felt like it was kind of fundamentally a portrait piece. Like I was, it was a portrait of the boys' friendship. It was a portrait of a connection with nature. And then this book is very much plot driven in that like you don't know what's going on. And so you're following Jack, who was, the surviving hero of the river. He's at this high-end resort in the middle of some COVID-like pandemic, and he finds out that not everything is kosher here at the crazy rich hunting lodge, whatever. You know the story. Our readers don't. But so one, I thought the pop star woman character was very interesting.
Why?
Well, I mean, I think Peter maybe took some liberties with having her like making out with this 25-year-old in his pickup truck after knowing him for 3 or 4 days. But I guess, she's a global pop star,
And he was such a down-to-earth guy.
And
like,
he's
I'm
just
sure
a
it was
great,
really refreshing.
really handsome young Dartmouth man. I don't know. It just, everything happened a little too fast in the book. Like, oh my God, we found out, And it's like, so everybody was such a dummy except for Jack, and they couldn't figure out that, they were sucking. I don't know. I'm not going to give away the plot because there is a reveal or whatever. I love this one just as much, but this one was a little bit more like, a Snickers bar versus some kind of substantive meal that I really, I'm going to think about for years,
I read the guide without having read the river, and I still haven't read the river.
Did you ever read the river?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
So you think that's the better?
I don't think it's close. I think the river is magnificent. I think.
Oh, wow.
I think the guide is it's just a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper. Like there's more.
Because I love the guide.
No, the guide is good. The guide is good, but I think the river is much better. The river is like, I think it's important in a, you haven't really read a book quite like that before in the, because he gives it so much time, right? Like in the guide, there isn't much time. Like stuff is happening, boom, bing, bang, boom, right from the jump, Like, something is sketch right away. Whereas in the river for like a long time, we're like, oh, like I'm really enjoying this like crazy, slow and meditative and thoughtful exploration of being on the water and male friendship. And then it's like, boom, you hit the rapids and everything accelerates into the end of the book. Whereas I feel like the guide is sort of more of a genre piece than the river is.
Interesting. Have you read The Dog Stars?
No, I think we have that though, so I'm going to read that.
You should read that.
I feel like that is more like Station 11 type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like post-apocalyptic. Not many people are left on the planet.
So, and that's the thing, is like the river, there's no suspension of disbelief in the river at all. right? Like it feels like it could totally happen. It feels like it's next door. It feels like you know those people. It feels like it happened last week. Whereas the guide, you're like, okay, there's, there's a little bit of razzle dazzle sort of fantasy to it in a way,
right?
I
mean, the pop star was kind of an interesting choice. Like, why did she have to be famous? I guess you needed some stuff from her at some point.
Well, like the guests there have to be billionaires or millionaires or whatever, so who does go there? But it's more just like the bad guy in the guide is like just sort of really bad. Like, look at this super bad guy. It's just a little bit Austin Powersy for me.
That makes sense. I mean, I think knowing nothing about it, going into it totally blind, it was like a revelation. That kind of nature writing, the fishing scenes, I was just like, what? This is freaking
right, but that's
beautiful.
The thing is like that in the river is so much better.
Okay.
So much better.
Okay.
Because I think he felt like he couldn't do that again, right? So you are getting some of the fishing scenes and he does do a great job, but he doesn't spend as much time on it because he's like already done that book, So it's like, that's kind of the tie back to the previous book, and he gives you some of the emotions, but like the emotions with his buddy are so much more powerful, and it's just much more meditative,
Okay, awesome. I'm going to have to read it now.
Yeah, if you like the guy, you have to read The River. I thought for sure you had.
I hadn't.
I mean, what happens.
But that's the thing. I know what happens at the end.
It's kind of a bummer. But I think that'll almost make it better because, I think when you're reading The River, you're spending a lot of time thinking like, shit, how's he going to get out of this? Which one of them is going to die? So if you already know how he's going to get out of it, I think you'll be able to appreciate the language more, maybe.
Right. No, we've also ruined it for everybody listening.
No, someone's going to die. I mean, come on. You just don't know who.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't just get out of it like it's all great. That's not going to happen.
You're reminding me of the Marriage at Sea book we talked about a couple episodes ago. Whereas just reading that book being like, they're not going to survive, right? That would be like, why am I reading this book if they're going to survive? Right, and then I'm like, maybe one of them's got to die. And then I was like, wait, they're both alive?
They're fine? And then they wrote some other crappy book? Like, what?
Like, no.
Right. That's what fiction's, fiction is
That's
good.
why sometimes fiction's better than real life.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
All right. What's your number two?
Well, I'll go to my, since you were kind of talking about a plot-driven book and action, I'll talk about The Frozen People by Elly Griffiths, which I also really enjoyed. So I was sort of...
Is Elly Griffiths it's like British detective fiction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote like a 15-book series about an archaeologist. Yeah. The first book in that series is called The Crossing Places. And I thought that was like really solid, excellent stuff. And then she did a bunch of like standalone books, like The Stranger Diaries was one of them. And she had a bunch of others. And I thought those were all just super solid, right? Like she's now at this point written dozens of mysteries.
Yeah, wow.
And I just felt like I can read this book, The Frozen People, which is the start of a brand new series and is a little bit of a departure for her because there is time travel in it.
Time travel?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, but I still felt like, I'm going to be in the hands of an expert and she's going to pull this off and it's going to be good. And I, in August, had trouble finishing book. Like I just I don't know, I was in a slump. I was struggling. And so I needed a plot-driven book to get me out of it. And The Frozen People totally delivered. And it is like, she's not flashy, right?
What's the time travel mechanism?
So there's just this Italian woman who has figured out time travel.
Just invented it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I didn't expect
a box.
her to. Yeah, it's just. I don't even really. I can't even remember if they actually explain it happening. But like, she's like, the character like feels a tug in her belly, and then boop, you're there.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't. That's the thing. I was just like, I'm not here for like some inventive like.
Right. So it's not like we figured out the physics and
No.
there's some gobbledygook about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like there's something about like you're copying the molecules and blah blah blah. I don't know. She has something, but that's not why we're here, people. We're here for the mystery.
Right. Yes.
So the main character is named Allie Dawson, and she's kind of like working class, single mom who, became a cop, but then got into this like secret unit of where they've time traveled, but they've just started. So there's like references to this like one or two other trips they've taken, but they really haven't like time traveled that much.
Right.
And it's a cold case unit. So they use the time travel
Go
to
back
solve,
and figure out what happened. Okay.
Yes. Find the evidence they need to solve the cold case.
Hmm.
So, the one like sort of sketchy situation is the reason so now they want to go back to Victorian England. They need to go back to 1850. So they've never traveled back in time this far.
Uh-huh.
First time they went back in time was like just a couple weeks. It was like COVID had just started and they went back to like a couple weeks before when it was pre-COVID.
Uh-huh.
And then they traveled to the 1970s, but like this is a big jump for them. And they can only send one person.
That's not where I would go if I'm a cold case unit.
So they want to go to 1850 because there's this rising star politician who has convinced them to do this. That he has an ancestor who has been accused of murder. He's always been like this, murderer in his family tree. And he doesn't think his grandfather did it. And he wants them to go back in time and see his grandfather or great whatever grandfather.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So that reason always seemed a little like,
yeah. Come on, we've got time travel and that's our like top priority. Get out of here. No.
Right. But things kind of get explained a little bit better later. I will say that, that you do have to just roll with that a bit.
Okay.
So Allie Dawson has to go back to 1850 by herself. And she does like meet the great grandfather and she gathers some evidence, but she gets stuck there. So does
she have to like pretend to be like 1850s woman and all that jazz? Yeah.
Yeah. So she only planned on being there for 1 hour. And then she ends up stuck there for like a week.
Okay.
So she ends up,
So we get a little fish out of water, like how societal roles have changed. Oh my goodness.
But I thought there was a decent amount of research that was really well integrated into the story. And then like halfway through though, she gets, her colleague comes to rescue her and you have to like replace the molecules or whatever. I don't know. So the colleague has to stay. They like basically somebody, like you have to go to the exact same place you came in. Like your exit point is like the exact same spot as your entry point.
Okay.
And
even though the Earth is spinning and also moving in space.
Yeah, whatever. So
it's totally not an actual XYZ in reality. No.
So anyway, she takes his place and now he's stuck in 1850, but she gets to go back because her son has been accused of murder.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So she has to go back and save her son. And obviously all these things are all
tied together.
So, it became like a nice mystery about like, a mother-son story and like good motivation for her to, follow through. And yeah, it's just super solid. I don't want to talk about the ending and give stuff away, but I will say like, even if you're not like a time travel person, like it's not about the science fiction here.
Right. It doesn't sound very tech.
It's just about the mystery.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you had a mother-son story. I have a father-daughter story.
Ooh.
With Jess Walter's So Far Gone.
Oh, yes. Correct.
Which I really enjoyed. Again, I read super fast. It's a slim novel with nice big fat font. And the central little organizing principle is that we have a divorced couple, but the dad is sort of the protagonist, Jess Walter. He's actually written a ton of books. I didn't really realize. And he wrote The Cold Millions, Beautiful Ruins. He was a National Book Award finalist for The Zero and Citizen Vince. He won an Edgar Award. This guy has written a ton of stuff. I never heard of him.
Yeah, Beautiful Ruins was people really love that book. That book comes up a lot for me in conversation.
He can write like crazy. He's very funny. Great, like sort of slapsticky type comedy. I laughed out loud 5 or 6 times.
Okay, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, like, real, good sort of ridiculousness, people busting on each other, physical comedy. And the organizing principle is that this divorced couple, the dad just feels he's a newspaper reporter who, got laid off. He sees his profession dying. And he's at Thanksgiving dinner with his ex-wife and his daughter. They just had the one daughter, and her husband and their 2 kids. And he's just trying to like get through the day without any conflict. He swore he's not going to talk politics or anything. But the husband is this like super Trumper, Jesus jumper, self-righteous guy. And he just keeps poking him and poking him and poking him until he decks him in the face. And Dad, you punched my husband. He leaves in a huff and goes to his family compound up in the mountains around Spokane, and just disappears from public life for like 7 years. Goes off the grid, doesn't have a phone, off the grid. Until one day, his grandchildren show up on his doorstep and are like, Grandpa, Mom told us to come here if we got in trouble. So, he doesn't even recognize his grandkids. He feels great shame. He's got to, rally and take care of these grandkids. And so what's great about the book is the mom has disappeared. Mom's bailed. The husband is off with his religious brothers, preparing for Revelation or whatever, shooting.
Right. But don't they have to go look for the mom?
Yeah, they got to find the mom. But really, so I thought it was going to be Grandpa reconnects with the kids and fish out of water. Oh, look at this off the grid guy dealing with his kids. But no, it is that. But it's just chaos from the jump, right? So the Shane, the husband, is all wrapped up with this militia church in the middle of, one of these Oregon fanatics who don't believe in federal government, and he gets decked in the face, and there's shooting people and lots of chasing around and shotguns, and it's a lot of fun. It's just ridiculous. I don't think you'd enjoy it if you are religious. I don't think you would enjoy it if you are a Trump fan.
Yeah.
I think he tries to be a little bit empathetic toward, people who, get sucked into religion because they went to Narcotics Anonymous or, whatever. I think he goes a little too far there sometimes. He kind of makes up people that don't exist. These aren't good people. I'm sorry. Actually, they're pretty bad. But there's lots of father-daughter stuff. What it reminds me a lot of is Richard Ford. It reminds me a lot of the sports writer. It's a very literary. There's lots of look how smart I am, Thoreau quotes and philosophers.
But he's a salty old man too, the main character.
Yeah, but he's not even that salty or that old, really. He's 55 or something.
Right, but he's alienated. I guess he feels alienated.
Yeah, the idea is that and I think he doesn't really pull that off all that well. He's the world just doesn't have anything for me, so I'm gonna go off the grid or whatever. And woe is me. And they kind of make fun of him a little bit for being a wuss, and he kind of gives some speeches where I'm going to be better and just, let me back into your life and I'll start today and I'll be better at saying sorry. And so that's where I think like the sports writer, I think a lot of people would say like, oh, it's kind of Updikean, it's misogynistic, it's from this very male perspective, but I feel like it's a little bit more real than this. Like, whereas this is like, look how much therapy I've had, and this is the right way to have this awakening, and it's all very touchy-feely, and I just feel like everybody's kind of too patently redeemed, but it's very fun. Like I said, I laughed. It's an enjoyable kind of romp. Richard Russo kind of similar type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in the fact that you're calling it a romp. Like I started reading it, as I mentioned, and I sort of said I put it away because I got distracted, but I put it aside because I was like, I don't really feel like reading more commentary about like our current political differences. And I just felt
it starts with that, but it's not actually that much at all. I feel like it's a little, the characters are like his ex-fling, who was this young reporter that he had an affair with and broke up her marriage, and this ex-cop that like is kind of lost, and it doesn't really. It starts off like you read the opening scene where he punches the guy in the face, and that's very like political. But after that, it's much more just like interpersonal and.
Okay.
No, because I'm tired of like anti-Trump shit. I just don't really care about it.
Right.
Because there isn't really a way to make the fiction worse than the reality.
Right.
It's not that really. It's much more of like, dude who has done bad things, finding redemption and wisdom in old age kind of deal,
All right. Yeah. I mean, it has to be a good book, right? Like you need the relationships and you need the personal redemption.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like, there's a little too much of a bow tie at the end. Like, I think things could have been a little more ragged. Sure.
All right. Great. I don't have a segue. I don't know. I mean, there's So Help Wanted by Adele Waldman. I guess there are like certain political things. There are definitely like a lot of characters with a lot of different political views. What I liked about this book is it's about like working class people, right? So the setting is a big box store and it's like the warehouse employees. And it actually has a great like storyline that that gives you the arc of the story. So you come in, on the first day with all these worker bees, and they discover that their head boss, so they're kind of like, they have their manager, and then there's like the manager's manager, and then there's the head boss of the warehouse. The head boss is being transferred to Connecticut.
Oh, no.
And so this is leaving an opening, which is going to create opportunity, which doesn't come along very often. So the middle boss, who actually everybody hates, this woman Meredith, is up for like maybe getting this promotion into the head boss role.
Right.
And everybody at first is like, hell no, we hate Meredith. But then they realize, well, actually, we don't really interact with the head boss that much. And if Meredith gets the job, she could, like, we'd be, out of her hair and we wouldn't have to deal with her. And then our manager would get promoted, and then one of us could get promoted into the manager job. So what I think Waldman does very well is, first of all, just like, handling this like pretty big cast of characters and kind of deftly moving between their point of view, like even within a scene, which I can't remember what book I was reading recently. Someone did it really badly where I was just like, oh, now we're in this person's head. Like, that's crazy. But like, she does it really well where like it makes sense and you understand what's happening and like, it's good.
I actually meant to comment on that because both Peter Heller and Jess Walter use that same technique where you're like peeking over different characters' shoulders. So it's always third person, but like the perspective shifts and like sometimes.
So this is what this book does too.
Yeah, you can shank that badly. Both of them do it well.
Yeah, she does it great. So, I mean, there are definitely times where you're like, who's that character or whatever. But for the most part, they're all like just different enough that like you can keep it all straight. This was on Obama's summer reading list.
Oh.
And also just wanted, I've been trying to read some more workplace books. So I thought this was like, honestly, I went into it thinking she was going to be ragging on Amazon, and then she is. But I thought it was supposed to be like an Amazon warehouse, but it's actually not. This is like a Target
Walmart
warehouse, a Walmart. I mean, they say Walmart's like lower down than them. I think they're supposed to be more like Target. But the book talks about how it's just such a shitty landscape for these big box stores now too, because of Amazon. And so there's, a whole thread about like how Amazon has just totally decimated this landscape. Like these used to be stores and companies that you could work for and make a living. Right. And now like you can't. I would say she hammers the idea home that, people have probably read about this in the news, that these stores give their workers just enough hours per year to not have to pay them benefits.
Right.
So like, you get to a certain point in the year and like all their hours start getting cut. And so they have to take second jobs in order to like actually pay the bills. But you get like they all have different stories of like their families and why it sucks and why I don't have enough money. And like having a college education is not a given with these characters. Some of them don't have like a GED or a high school diploma, but you have to have one in order to become a manager. But you kind of hear like why they don't and like what happened and their insecurities and their hopes. And I don't know, it was like,
are they too smart?
No, I don't think so. So there's this one woman.
That's one of the things, like when smart people write, like these working class people, they always are like super smart, but like, just didn't get a high school diploma. It's like, well, couldn't they just be dumb?
Right. I mean, I don't think anyone's, maybe occasionally they're too smart, I guess. But for the most part, that didn't occur to me.
Okay.
I don't really think so. There was one kind of ringleader who gets them organized to be like, okay, guys, so then corporate is coming to interview all of them about Meredith because there's a super short timeline. I don't know. I was sort of like, I don't think corporate would do this, but whatever. So they're like, one lady who really wants to she thinks she's, the best bet to get this manager job if everybody moves up.
Yeah.
So she is like, let's get Meredith promoted and like we can all scheme and like give good interviews and blah, blah, blah to get Meredith promoted.
Right. That way they don't hire someone from outside and then you're all screwed. Yeah.
Yes. So they're like, they organize or whatever secretly. But I don't think she acted too smart or whatever. Like everybody, it was all totally believable to me. I think what wasn't was like you get to the end and like, okay, a little bit of spoiler alert here. You see their interviews and they all just go in hard, like she is the best, like, and I was sort of like, whoa, did you guys not scheme at all about like a little bit of subtlety? Like who's going to believe you? I don't know. So there were some parts where I was like, I'm not sure. But for the most part, like it moved right along. I thought it was a book with, it had something to say and something to kind of shine a light on.
Mm-hmm.
There are no real answers or whatever. But
what's it called again?
Help Wanted.
Oh, Help Wanted. Yeah. Okay. I think I've seen that. Yeah.
I thought it was very good.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I think as I was reading it, I was sort of struggling to think who I'd recommend it to. I was kind of on Blue Sky talking to another bookseller who she was like, oh, I recommend this all the time. And like I saw Obama had it on his favorite summer reads. And I was sort of like, am I, not giving this enough or not giving our, some of our readers enough credit, but it's not as like explosive or propulsive or like, I don't know what, but I suppose I'm probably underestimating everybody.
People who know who Barbara Ehrenreich is.
Yeah, I mean that's who should read it if you also like reading fiction.
That could be your filter. Do you know who Ben?
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
know
Yes.
Barbara?
Totally.
What about her son Ben?
Yeah. He writes interesting novels. Or he
I
did.
know, I think his
haven't
stuff
seen
is
anything
great.
in a while.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. All right. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda, which is the very
Wow.
end of 100 episodes of John Updike's Ghost, which
Oh my
is
gosh.
crazy.
I'm going to get teary over here.
Yeah, I know. I'm really broken up myself. We want to thank everybody who has listened. Maybe some of you have listened to all 100 episodes. If that's true, we really appreciate it.
So thankful.
We want to thank Chris Burns, who is our editor, who will be our editor for our next podcast too. But still, he has done a great job making us sound great. Thanks to Ruby, Jane, and Sophie, and what is her name?
Somebody else.
Third girl with the curly hair and the circular glasses who sang our jingle. We are going to be composing a new jingle for
There'll be a
the
new jingle.
new podcast, The Bookshop of Beverly Falls, which is great. But Julie, her name is Julie. And thanks to them for singing that into my voice memo way back in the day. And thanks to everybody for listening. We appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, really. But also, we're not really going anywhere. So you should follow us.
Yes, it's going to be very similar, just different name and better logo.
Yeah. And if you have, comments, feedback, you can always email us at info@realbookshop.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yes. Or if you know us, like you're our family members, you can text us. Okay, see you, bye.
Bye.